I will say Jimmy Haslam has purchased a large plot of land. This is a clip that we're going to play, and this was from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jason Lloyd talks about breaking down what it looks like for the Cleveland Browns, and should we be worried that the Browns are moving from the lake shores out of town to the suburbs? We'll talk about it now.
It's true that they are close to an agreement.
Yeah.
It's not done. I already forgot what the tweet said, if it was done or not. But it's not done, but they're close to an agreement that would give them the right to purchase it. So that's true. It's a hammer in negotiations, right? Right. I think the Browns have been frustrated by the city slow playing this. The city has not been as proactive at coming to the negotiating table as the Browns would like. So now they just went out and bought a really big hammer, or they're in the process of potentially buying a really big hammer that you can say, okay, well, then we're just going to go over here. Now, there's still a lot of loops to close if you're going to try and build a new stadium on this land. But certainly obviously that's why they're buying it, right? That's why they're buying it. Now, you could buy that land, sit on it, and redevelop it into something else.
Sure.
You could, but obviously this is right next to the practice facility.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's close to the stadium. It's a giant area. The thing that's interesting, I've actually been the last few days digging in on the stadium stuff.
Yeah.
And I was kind of zeroing in on the IX Center. That's where I thought.
The other side of the.
I was on the wrong side.
Yeah.
So, the interesting part about this land is let's say that this gets done and the stadium's going here. There are FAA rules about height restrictions that close to the airport because of runways and everything else.
Sure.
So depending on where they put this thing, I was told, because when I was looking at the IX Center site, I was told they may have to put a significant portion of it underground because you have to keep it low for the runways.
Well, you have it right there, Jason Lloyd of The Athletic and Jason Lloyd of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Shout out to him. He's talking about it. Listen, right now, I think that he's right. This is a negotiation piece. This is a tool to be used so that the Cleveland Browns can go to the city and Mayor Bibb, who's been on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, and say, listen, hey, the Browns are the crown jewel of what Cleveland sports is about, right? This is a Browns town. Check it out. When we try to talk about Browns, Cavs, Guardians, we know who comes in first pecking order. And the going rate for whatever we are talking about is they are going to want upwards of $1 billion in tax funds. Is the city of Cleveland willing to dip into some of those? Are we willing to do a sin tax? Are we willing to get some of this gambling money up? Because gambling they done made a couple $1 billion in just gambling alone now that it's legal in the state of Ohio. Are you willing? Marijuana is legal in the state of Ohio now. Are you going to be able to tax that? There's a lot of different areas and avenues to what they're talking about. And them buying that plot of land is just another way of saying, hey, look, we got this land here. If you want to keep the Browns downtown, if you want to keep the revitalization going, if you want to keep that money coming in and the muni lot jumping like we always we talk about, they're using it as a bargaining chip, to be truthful. And I listen, look, it's an election. Mayor Bibb is up for election as well. And guess what? His constituents ain't up for giving a half a whole $1 billion away in certain circumstances. So the thought process is to me is this: they've already went out and purchased. They've invested in Columbus with the crew. They've went out and made a large, substantial investment. We don't know how much. So in the Milwaukee Bucks in another state. Now they've gone, by the airport, more strategically located, and they bought a plot of land. Now, listen, if you're the Browns and you're the city, I'm anxious to see what the councilmen say. I'm anxious to see what you're willing to put up with and what you're willing to pay for. And what better platform to go ahead and hit me up at GBush91, as you can see. What do you think? Comments ready to go? Do you believe that the Cleveland Browns actually are planning on moving, or they just using it as a negotiation chip? And as a taxpayer, what are you willing to pay for? What are you willing to put down? How much more are you willing to give in taxes, right? And do the Browns owe it to the people to keep it downtown? Do they owe it to the fans of an organization that already left you once high and dry? Do they owe it to you that the Haslam's need to put up the majority of that money and keep the stadium where it is? We'll come back and get your questions, your comments, your concerns on that. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. I ain't even going to take a break. We'll come back and get your comments here in a second. Let's go to the comments right now. Let's see. Let me see what you say. Lot of Go Browns. We appreciate you guys checking out. Definitely living in Worcester for a decade and in Jacksonville, Florida for 8 years. I can say going that far down into the soil with that much water would be suspect. I'm thinking you're talking about with the plan to build a new stadium somewhere. JoJo boy going to build a Super 8 next to it for a visiting team. Y'all crazy, man. Oh man. Grass and Brass said Browns ain't going nowhere. I agree with that. And let's see, man. And J-Dog CC6, we talk about going back a little bit, talk about the Haslam's. That tells you right there that he's not forcing the issue of play calling and plays. He's happy with Kevin calling him if that's what happens. So we'll in the comment section when you guys see this, let me know. Are you willing to pay a little bit of extra on the backside when it comes to making sure the Browns stay downtown? We'll come.